Welcome to Me Financial, the podcast designed to inspire your financial life. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the podcast. I am Michelle Moses, your host, and today we are going to be talking about luxury Airbnbs. I am very excited to talk about this. I think I say that every week, but I really am excited about all of these topics that we talk about, and mostly just so that I can learn about them too. And today, to talk about this, I have Ross Greenberg on the show, and Ross is the owner of Luxury Cash Flow. Founded in early 2019, Luxury Cash Flow addresses what he felt was a void in the market. Investors seeking to generate meaningful income from rental properties in large-scale homes that were sitting on the market, being overlooked by the retail customer. I invited Ross on because I saw that many of the regular, quote-unquote, Airbnbs had reached their saturation point, but the luxury space was still profitable, and when I called him, I felt like it was a place where there was space to grow and people could actually still purchase the property. So thank you for being on.
Thank you very much, Michelle, for having me. Appreciate you thinking about me, and I'm excited for us to kind of dive a little bit deeper.
Yeah, as I've talked to Ross, it's fascinating, all of the numbers that go into all of this, even before you purchase the property. So I'm excited to share this with you. And so why don't we start out with what the definition of a luxury rental is?
Yeah. So generally speaking, when we shop with clients and I shop on the market for a luxury Airbnb, we're looking at properties that are generally going to be about 5 or more bedrooms, right around that $2 million and up price point. You do start to get to a point of diminishing returns once you get to about $3 million. So I think if, I was looking at all the houses on a bell curve, that kind of $2 to $3 million price point is really the sweet spot for maximum yield. Okay.
And we're talking about Phoenix market right now, guys. So if you're listening in like Kansas, this could be completely different and you'd want to do like an apples to apples. But this is for the Phoenix market, what we're talking about. But Ross, we could help in any industry, but we're going to be talking about numbers in the Phoenix market. So, okay, so between 2 and 3. So why does it start to be diminishing returns at 3? Just because the mortgage payments are so high?
Yeah. So, pretty much the top of peak season of what you can actually charge on a per night basis without it just being, too expensive for the large majority of the clientele that are looking in this market to rent a property is going to be about $3,500 a night. For it to really cash flow at, $3-4 million properties, particularly if you are servicing debt and kind of maximizing your leverage, you really need to be able to get, $4,500, $5,000 a night, which just seems to be a little bit of a stretch for what people are willing to pay relative to you can still get a really, really awesome house with tons of backyard amenities and pretty much everything you're looking for kind of that $2,500 to $3,000 a night rate, which is kind of what we want to shoot for.
Okay. So you're kind of shooting for the lower rate versus like 5,000, because then you're kind of pricing yourself out of the market.
You kind of price yourself out of the market, and you kind of need to get those rates in order for it to make sense at the end of the year when you're looking at your kind of NOI relative to your purchase price.
Okay.
So, everything we do is really very cap rate driven. So, we want to target 8% cap rates and above. And we find that $2 to $3 million price point to be kind of our sweet spot. Okay.
And you guys, the cap rate is basically what your return NOI is. What is NOI?
Yeah, NOI is the numerator, and then the denominator being the purchase price.
The purchase price of the house. And so that is something that you're always looking at when you're looking at commercial property or any type of Airbnb.
Yeah, exactly. When you think about underwriting an asset for investment purposes, we do take a lot of kind of commercial underwriting approaches for kind of these residential assets. And we at the end of the day, we want to find the best performing asset classes. And, in the last probably 4 to 5 years, it's been tough to beat Airbnb.
Yeah, it is. Well, and as I said at the beginning of the show, I called it first, I think like 6 months ago, I was like, I don't know about Airbnbs, but the luxury market, it's definitely still hopping, where I feel like the regular market, some of the basic Airbnbs seem to be kind of falling off the market, or the people that couldn't compete, because if people are going to be paying this much and a cleaning fee and all of these things, they want to feel like they're staying somewhere, right, nice and with a kitchen. And
so the demand side of the market has changed. 10 years ago, people weren't willing to drop a credit card for $10,000, $20,000, $30,000 on a website, vrbo.com, airbnb.com. Those websites have done a really good job building trust. People like to travel in groups.
That's a great point.
it's also more economical. If you think about, just thinking about, let's say a bachelorette party, if they have 14 girls and, they're looking at reserving 7 rooms in a hotel block that were kind of next to each other, really a cost per person per night basis, they can get a $3 million house for literally less than, a 3 or 4 star hotel and just getting a block of rooms together.
Right. And it has a grill and a pool and
you get
all
the
kinds of
amenities
stuff.
and you can do the private chef. And there's just so many kind of what I call experiential services that are now offered in lots of vacation markets, not necessarily exclusive to Scottsdale, but in tons of them. But certainly here, there's tons of services to get the private chef to your house, to get the personal trainer for morning workouts, the yoga studios, the mobile spas for, pedicure, manicure. I mean, all that stuff exists. It's being heavily promoted. People find out about it on, TikTok and Instagram, and they, get real excited about booking these Airbnbs that offer a lot of space to kind of enjoy some of those third-party amenities.
That's awesome. And so do you help them do some of those amenities?
Yeah. I think now, most property managers have included some level of concierge service, whether that's kind of an airport pickup or, if they can't check in early, which is a really popular request, we can help facilitate, getting their bags from whatever bar in town they're going to, and we'll drop it off and, have someone drop it off at the house. So yeah, there's definitely, I think most property managers have kind of adapted and offer to some degree, either referrals or in-house concierge services.
Yeah, I think that sounds amazing. And you're probably suggesting some of these things, and it's things that they didn't even know that they could have.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Totally. Yeah. No, we get a lot of requests for, people that want to set up the house with balloons, and they would need to, one of the girls needs to sneak away from their group to kind of set the house up early. And hey, for $125, that there's services out there that'll do all of that for you. You don't have to kind of sneak away from the bride, from the, bridesmaids and all that stuff. So
wow.
Tons of really cool services out there.
Yeah, absolutely. And I would imagine that it's always evolving and people adding things and all that. Yeah. Oh, that's cool. Okay. So back to buying the house. So, which all of that sounds cool. We're going to come back around to all of that. That's a fun part. When people are purchasing a house, so do you find people that they come to you to want to buy Airbnb and then you kind of talk them into a larger home because they can make more?
Sometimes. The first thing I like to figure out when somebody does approach me to buy a property is, how much of this property is like truly a second home for you, where you're going to go with your family and host friends, host family, and really maximize the usage of your home for your personal reasons, or how much of this home is actually going to be used for cash flow purposes. Are you going to use the property a week of the year? Or are you going to use the property 6 months out of the year? So that's going to be really, just to kind of get an idea, like where, where they're thinking, where their head is at for how much they're actually going to use the property and their intended purpose. And
you call that an emotional person that's going to use it more is more of an emotional buyer, right?
Yeah. I mean, I certainly want to kind of cater what I show, and certainly like my opinions on, their needs. Like if they're going to use the property a ton and it's maybe not in the, best location for rental purposes, or maybe just doesn't have that extra bedroom that we like to see to maximize cash flow, but they love everything else about it, and they love the finishes, and they get a great feel, and they could see their family enjoying themselves for the holidays, then it's like, okay, let's, take a step back from a financial perspective. And yeah, it's your second home, it's your vacation property. Like pick something that you're going to enjoy. So yeah, totally. So that's really the first thing I like to figure out.
Okay. So there's kind of two buyers. One of the emotional buyer that wants to use it for themselves, and then just pure cash flow. Like they're just wanting to just have a business.
Well, yeah. I mean, there's certainly a combination of the two as well. I mean, it's a lot of my owners who kind of came in as, strictly cash flow investment, buyers, still want to try to use the property, get in there maybe once a year, twice a year. I'd still call that a full-time investment property, but, certainly we'll block off, a week or two here and there for them.
Okay. All right. And so once they identify a property, they've obviously already met with a mortgage broker if they aren't buying it for cash, and have gone through different things. And I do want to point out, you guys, I actually dropped an episode and we were talking about different mortgage options. So I'm not going to go over all of them, but when you have a rental, there are what these called debt service coverage ratio loans. And do you want to kind of talk about what those are?
Yeah, sure. So Sometimes we'll run into situations where someone has the liquidity to put a down payment on a property. They have the 20 to 25 to 30% down, but whether they're self-employed or whether for a variety of different reasons, they show little or, in some cases, no income just for tax liability purposes. I'm sure you speak a lot about that, and people on your episode that have certainly talked a lot more about that. But those type of people are really qualified buyers to be investing in properties like this, but maybe they don't have the ability to, or the W-2 income or the tax returns to really get a conventional or jumbo mortgage. So there are kind of these alternative loan programs that have become very popular called, the DSCR, the debt service coverage ratio. And the way the mortgage lenders will underwrite those loans, those assets, is based on the projected rental rates on an annualized basis for that property. And if those rental rates, if the gross rental revenues can cover the debt, usually at a dollar for dollar ratio, then they'll qualify that house to offer a loan. And those loans are still 70 to 75% leverage, which, 25% down.
Yeah. So that's still, that's good. And so all you're using is the potential rental rate of the home.
Yeah, exactly.
Qualify.
And there's, the way those are underwritten are a variety of different ways, but AirDNA, the data and the analytical way that a lot of these technology companies are projecting rental revenues are getting better and better. It's not perfect, but it is a really nice alternative way for somebody to get into these properties by paying just a little bit of a premium on their interest rate. And
that's what I was going to ask you. So do the mortgage brokers, do they come to you for what is the potential rent, or is that all done online? So
they do that in-house. They use a lot of the same tools, frankly, that I use to project rental revenue. There's not too many of them out there. So we do, use a lot of the same ones. But yeah, I do find that, these bigger houses, and especially in the luxury space, they tend to qualify more than, maybe some of the run-of-the-mill houses, which, again, when we talk about luxury, again, that kind of $2 to $3 million price point, a minimum, like just as far as search criteria go, we really like to look at a minimum of about a 5-bedroom. Ensuite bathrooms tend to be a really huge amenity. So, we like to have about, if we can get a 5-bed, 5-bath, or a 6-bed, 5-bath, with several en suites, that's usually going to be kind of a bed bath count that we want to look for. And, we want to definitely see the outdoor living space. There's no question that, the outdoor amenities is probably the number one draw for people coming out here.
And so do you, help them put those in if they're not in there?
Yeah.
On the house?
So just taking kind of a holistic kind of step back and view of everything. So when people think about, want to get into this space, there's kind of 3 sort of primary factors they need to look at. The first is finding the right asset, right? If they're going to buy a $2 million house and there's 75 active listings in that price point, they're not all created equally. So really finding a realtor or some resource that can help them identify kind of the best assets for cash flow opportunities is really going to be critically important. Finding that. And then the second kind of component would be the design and onboard of the property. So, largely houses are sold vacant. Houses are rented, furnished, and amenitized. So from the time someone is under contract or closed on the house to the time they get up and running, time is money. And we try to really encourage people to be done onboarding their house in about 60 days. It's a little ambitious on the luxury side of the market, but there's a lot of furniture vendors, there's a lot of contractors that can get the work that you need to do to get the house rent ready done inside of that window. So we like to shoot for about 60 days.
Well, and that's why hiring somebody like you would be beneficial because you already have those connections.
Whether it's me, so we have a great network of service providers. Our interior designers are very proficient in furnishing properties and sourcing from vendors with very short lead times on shipping. You can order a couch from, Restoration Hardware that's 6 months on back order.
Right.
Something like that probably doesn't make sense in this business, right? So yeah, we want to use designers that have an expertise in this. We want to use subcontractors when we do some hardscape landscape modifications that are obviously cost effective and get things done at a very reasonable price and quick. It's time is money, right?
Right.
And so, yeah, we put a lot of emphasis on the onboarding. There's, bedroom, bathroom count is critically important. The value of a bed, let's say there's an office, for example, at a property. there's value in having an office at a property, work from home, et cetera. But there's probably 5x the amount of value if that office was converted to a bedroom, having that extra king bed or converting that room.
Because they could work at the kitchen table.
At the end of the day, they could. There's other spaces that they could find to work, but the occupancy is really important. So if we can convert an office and get an extra 2 people, or with 2 full beds, 4 people, that's going to be a huge increase in revenue relative to just keeping it as an office. So we want to get that construction done quickly, and we want to. A lot of times we'll want to xeriscape the exterior landscape. So we'll oftentimes pull sod in the outside and do artificial turf, put putting greens within the artificial turf as well for an extra $1 a square foot. Economically, it makes sense.
Oh, really? Cool.
And so we amenitize and design and furnishing is I think probably the number one thing that's overlooked in this space and probably shouldn't be. And so it's critically important. And then the final.
Well, that's what's going to make the house stand out.
Totally.
Right.
So,
and make people want to rent it and pay just a little bit extra by putting that extra design time in there.
Absolutely. And I'm not the first one to say it, but you hear it all the time. It is, at the end of the day, kind of a beauty contest online. And I couldn't agree with that more. It's very, very true. The look, the feel, the design.
You hope that people are different, but it's not true.
Right. You want to say something new and have some fresh information. And then at the end of the day, what's been said for 10 years is really true. But you definitely want to have a unique feel. It's really got to stand out from the crowd. You do see a lot of kind of themed houses, which has been a very popular trend in the last several years. We see these pink themed houses.
Especially the bachelorette parties. Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So whether it's that or whether it's, I've seen a million of them, but they're fun.
The owner kind of decides what kind of theme they want to go with, or do you help them decide that?
I do help them decide that. I usually like to leave that up with the designers and the owner. I like to be on the design process. I'm kind of a second line resource. I'm a project manager to some extent. I let the designers kind of do their thing. I'm kind of involved, but I like the owners to make the final selections. Yeah,
but aren't you telling them what would make more money?
Well, as far as some different aspects of the rehab and construction of the house, like, hey, do we convert this office into a bedroom, or should we put 2 bunk beds in this room, or just keep a king bedroom, or should we put 2 full beds? So when it comes to bed configuration, when it comes to some of the layout and the living spaces, I definitely have some say. But as far as like, hey, we need a 160-inch couch, I'm going to let the owners decide what they like.
Okay, or the pink neon sign or something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Open crazy late. We just put one in.
Yeah.
Owners like that little catchphrase. So that's they'll have some fun with that.
Okay. All right. So that's kind of more the designer thing, and then they ask you kind of as backup. Because that's what I would do. I mean, I would ask you like, hey, is it more profitable to do a bachelorette party or, kind of house, or, just a family type house? Yeah.
I would say that I personally haven't set up one that's kind of geared and themed toward that bachelorette party vibe. We try to really the best renters for me are 3 families staying under one roof. So we try to keep it real family oriented. Yeah,
I agree. I would think the families, because they're going to bed early and they're not, there's noise, but not the same kind of noise.
Or 8 guys going on a golf trip.
Yeah, totally.
They want a hot tub and a place to sleep. That's about it.
Yeah. And so do you put in like the noise? How they have like the noise. What am I trying to say?
Yeah. So there's
alarms.
There's a lot of different really cool technology out there. Hardware, what you're referring to, there's one in the market called Minute, Minut. We put the Minute in. It does alert us if decibel levels over kind of a certain, I think it's a 10 p.m. curfew, are exceedingly high. There's a really cool one out there called Party Squasher, which will tell us, how many cellular devices are logged in within a geofence, which you put, kind of around the perimeter of your property. So
really,
if you have, 60 devices that are, connected to the Wi-Fi, then there's maybe something going on there that shouldn't be.
Wow. I had that happen. My friends, they did an Airbnb and they're managing it themselves, I believe. And the guy put a party out on TikTok.
Yeah,
They had to clean it up. They spent like a week cleaning it up.
It's happened to me. I've been at dinner on a Saturday night and gotten a call from Paradise Valley Police Department. Hey Ross, it's 9:30 and there's already about 70 people at your house. It doesn't look like it's dying down anytime soon. You might want to get over here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're like you're the person listed to call.
I'm listed as the emergency contact. There's I have support out in the market that kind of helps me with that kind of thing. But you're required now through some different ordinances that have passed over the last couple of years to register a local contact at every property in Phoenix and Scottsdale.
That's a rental.
Short-term rental, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. And, so I want to back up to this pro forma too. So have we finished all the three parts? The onboarding, the third part was...
Yeah, we could just real lightly touch on the third. It's selecting the right property manager.
Okay.
There's a bunch out there.
Yeah.
My model is kind of the one-to-one model. So my clients have my number. I tend to talk to them regularly. Just to kind of give you an analogy, just because we're on your podcast, financial podcast, right? People could invest with... they could invest in an ETF in E-Trade, not have a account manager, no one to call. They just kind of log into their app, kind of see what's going on. Other people might want to have someone like you who they can reach out to,
bounce ideas. Yeah.
Hey, I made more money this year. I made less money this year. What can we do to, diversify the portfolio? And I think I am more geared towards people who like the one-to-one touch. There are other people who just want the biggest, banner possible, the management companies with the tens of thousands of units, and that's totally fine too. Selecting the right property manager for kind of your personality type.
Okay.
And, what their fees are and what they're actually doing. And, some of them pass through fees with markups, others don't. There's just a lot to kind of vet when you think about talking to different property managers. Yeah,
but do you find that the guests have a better experience because it's somebody like you that's doing, you're setting up personal chefs and giving it a personal touch?
Well,
I mean, that's my opinion that I would think it'd be better.
I would think, personally, I think every property manager should have the ability to facilitate a 5-star experience. That's what we strive to do, but it's also helpful from like an escalation perspective. You definitely have people every once in a while that have, different issues, and they think that because maybe they're dealing with this huge conglomerate that they can have a little bit more negotiating power to get, refunds and be a little bit more of a stickler. But, when it's kind of more of a boutique feel, a mom and pop type shop, maybe they're a little bit more understanding. So I think there's some psychology that kind of goes into that as well. That's been helpful. And it's certainly helped me in kind of keeping my average star rating across all of my properties pretty high. Yeah.
Well, I think when people feel listened to, then it's like their anger goes from 10 to, 5 at least, and at least they're being listened to and getting feedback. And if they get like not the runaround that I think, one of those big companies would probably give them, then they just feel disrespected. Right.
Totally. They want to feel listened to. They want to feel like you care.
Yeah. And if you're spending that much money to rent a property, I could see that they, yes, I need you to care.
Absolutely. And those calls, those are inevitable. I mean, they're going to come up from time to time. And so, you just deal with them the best you can. But for the most part, being kind of a boutique feel has served me really well. I turn down significantly more opportunities to manage properties than I take on. I even just with the investor client as well. Not just the house, but so the boutique feel has really served me well. Okay. And do people come to you? I guess they probably come to you even to buy a house, but even after they've purchased the house, like, hey, I need you to manage this. Yeah. I mean, for the most part, I like to be involved in all 3 stages from the acquisition as a realtor to the onboard and setup and kind of management of that whole project of getting that house up and running. And then lastly, the facilitation of creating all the listings and getting it synced into my channel manager and actually getting it rented and profitable. So I like to be involved in as much as possible. I've certainly been involved on the first, which is just the transactional side of things. I've been involved on the third, and in some cases even I've only been hired as a consultant to project manage a house that I really didn't sell or they didn't have any plans to manage. So
just helping them, just consulting on how many bedrooms and what to do with them and things like that.
Yeah.
Okay. And you guys, I think it's really cool. So Ross taught a class quite a few months ago to our brokerage about looking for these properties and what you would look for. And there's a lot more that goes into it. I mean, I think that's what I found so fascinating was, you think like, oh, I'm just going to go buy a house and whether it's the right price and then I'm going to throw some stuff in it. And it is so much more. I mean, there's so many more details. So could you just go in? I don't want you to give away like all your secrets of how you look for a house, but could you like share some of them?
Yeah. I mean, I think the reason why I wanted to create this company, Luxury Cash Flow, is because there was such a disintegrated system for getting short-term rentals up and running.
Oh my God, right?
So let's say a customer from Washington, they know their cousins, brothers, nieces, uncles, a realtor in Scottsdale. They call them up, hey, I want to get an Airbnb. That person, that realtor, 95% of realtors, especially in Scottsdale, they understand Airbnb. They know what it is, but they don't know anything beyond like actually how to underwrite an asset, how to actually select a property that's maybe going to perform at a 30% clip compared to another one down the street. And so, they say things like, oh, it's, 25 minutes from the airport, or, oh, there's tons of golf courses around. And they're just not offering a ton of really kind of valuable insight that investor,
I think things that'll make it stand out.
Yeah. And that's really what that investor is looking for. They want a expert, knowledgeable resource. And, certainly a lot of people can write contracts out here and you throw a rock, you hit a realtor, right? In Arizona, as we always say, but
here we are.
Exactly. But yeah, there's not a ton of people who really, truly have given it a deep dive and really understand it. And then once they facilitate a transaction, they're calling their broker, hey, who manages properties in town? Most, it's changed over the years a little bit more, but 3, 4, 5, 6 years ago, most realtors didn't know who in town was managing short-term rentals. So they'd call their friends, call the grapevine and link them up with somebody that was never really pre-vetted, that they don't actually know who they work with. That property manager would kind of use different resources, a designer here, a designer there. And it was, again, very disoriented, disintegrated, not streamlined at all. And so I just wanted to bring all of that together and kind of create a 1, 2, 3 step process to, I want to buy an Airbnb, to this is a profitable Airbnb. And so, and a good
business for you too. I mean, you can help them buy the property and manage it and be making money, over the long term. So it's not like, like you're not having to redo transactions. You've got like a steady income plus the
sure.
Other.
I mean, and for anyone in property management, I mean, that's, managing the property is never really like there's a lot of pitfalls to managing properties. It's not always the most glorious job and what you have to deal with from time to time, but it's a great annuities business and it is reoccurring revenue for the property manager, and your interests are extremely aligned with the investor. On a bad month for the investor is going to be a bad month financially for the property manager as well. It's all usually based on a commission model. You get a percentage of what you book it for. So, but yeah, back to your original question, some of what we look for, number one thing that we try to do is stay out of homeowner associations. They'll either kick you out or try to kick you out.
Okay.
They're never just going to say, oh yeah, it's against our CC&Rs. Yeah. You guys we like you. You're cool. Just keep doing what you're doing. So yeah, let's avoid that as much as possible. So the first thing is stay out of the HOAs. Like I said, the second thing, which kind of goes back to...
Sorry, this is going to be very Phoenix specific, but I mean, like out in Gilbert and out south, I mean, it's all HOA, isn't it? I mean, so there's but this is just your criteria.
This should be everyone's, as far as the HOA, I think it should be everybody's criteria.
I mean, but there are Airbnbs out there, so people are obviously doing it, but you're saying
to be fair, some HOAs do allow for 30-day rental minimums. So,
that really puts a kink in your...
It messes up the model.
Yeah.
30-day minimums, they can work. It's a lot harder. It completely changes the pricing strategy. I mean, I do 3-day minimums. My pricing is generally in 3 tiers. I have kind of a lower tier, a medium tier, and a higher tier. The 30-day minimums just isn't my model.
Yeah.
Some people do it.
Okay.
But
sorry.
Totally cool. And so, the first thing, we want to do is stay away from the HOAs. The second thing is, we do want to find large enough lots that aren't totally hugging up against other properties, mostly because we want to respect the neighbors. I mean, we understand like we're not there. Some people misrepresent how many people are going to be staying at the house from time to time. And yeah, the more kind of insulated we are from, the neighbors and the street, which a lot of times we can accomplish with landscaping and some other things, is definitely something we look for. Like I said, that 5-bedroom, if you asked me this question 2 years ago, I would say you have to be at a 4-bedroom minimum. Again, saturation's kind of creeping upward, and now I really want to be at a 5-bed, probably a 3.5 bath as like a bare minimum on a really nice sized lot with a pool that has the capability to be heated. Has to be.
Right.
There's no...
Well, yeah, because people are going to come here in March and want to swim.
So I would estimate between November and the end of April, the percentage of groups that request and pay a daily rate for pool heating is probably somewhere between 95 and 100%.
Wow.
So it's a must. And they're booking the house for a heated pool.
That is a very high percentage.
It's literally
That's
every
amazing.
reservation, if not almost every reservation from November, even sometimes in October through the end of April.
Yeah.
Wants to make sure that pool's heated.
Yeah. Okay.
So,
wow.
So yeah, I mean, we want to have the capability of heating the pool. We want to have outdoor.
You could add a heater though.
You can add a heater.
Yeah.
There's several ways to add a heater.
Okay.
A lot of properties here in Scottsdale are on gas. That's the easiest, is to throw a gas heater in. If they're not, there's electric heaters. You could also, drop a propane tank in and heat it, which is probably the most expensive way.
Right. And most labor intensive.
Yeah. But yeah, you could control that stuff through an app. You don't have to physically be there to, heat the pool. So, yeah, I would say, pool, great outdoor living, 5-bed, 3.5 bath. Really want at least 2 of those bedrooms to have an ensuite, preferably more. Mm-hmm. And if you can get 2 under roof living areas, I would say that's a plus. When I say living areas, like have a media room, for example, like a den in a way where people can kind of watch movies. Maybe the kids are watching movies and then the adults are kind of sitting in like a second kind of seating situation, living room.
Even if they have the outdoor area.
Okay. We like to have 2 kind of living spaces under roof, and then as many amenities that we can kind of fit into the backyard. I don't want to overdo it and make it look too busy, but if we have the space, we'll drop in, last year we dropped in a couple of pickleball courts, which has been a super hot amenity. This year we're looking at converting a master bath extended patio into kind of a wellness space, dropping a cold plunge in there, a dry sauna. We just kind of look at some trends and see what's actually, what's catching people's eyes, what's a little bit different, how do we stand out? So I use the term every day, amenitize. And so, yeah, we definitely want to create these different experiences that stand out from the pack.
Yeah. Well, and I could see, you kind of need to, because it's always changing. And even what you just said, that a couple of years ago, 4 bedrooms would have been okay, but now 5 is what you need. And that goes back to exactly what I said, that it's kind of getting saturated, and that now you got to stay ahead of the pack in order to stand out. So, yeah.
Yeah. And I don't have the data in front of me, but, I would suspect that if you looked at every house in the greater Scottsdale area, that was a 4-bedroom, 3-bath house, and then you looked at every house, the number of houses that were a 5-bedroom, 4-bath. So just going up 1 bed and 1 bath, I would say the supply is maybe only 10% of what it was for the 4-3. So of the total number of 4-3s, only 10% of those, only 10% of that number is probably how many 5-4s there are. Right.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because people weren't building houses that big.
Yeah. And they haven't really been, this whole luxury space or side of Airbnb, Airbnb has been around since I think 2005, 2006. I mean, people have been renting spaces on Airbnb for a long time, but this side of the market, which there's a massive demand for, has really only taken off in the last, 5 to 6 years. Yeah. Well, and I think that with Instagram and people posting pictures of their bachelorette parties, because that's immediately what I think of is, you're going on a group trip or, all your college friends or something. To be honest with you, again, luxury, it's, I do get a lot of those parties, don't get me wrong, but we're getting together for, the the bridal party because there's weddings and they don't want to stay at hotels. They want to stay at an Airbnb. Group trips for someone's 50th, for their 40th, couples retreats. There is, I mean, during the week, we get a lot of like executive, kind of executive getaways. You know, they want to end of quarter, they're kind of getting together to do, you know, whatever, you know, do work, whatever. So there's, I mean, it just, and then
that makes sense. That's a great idea.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, tons of corporate retreat.
Yeah.
You know, type
that's
stuff.
a great idea.
So I know that's the first thing when people think of like group travel, that's where their mind goes, like bachelor, bachelorette. And we do get a lot of that. And Scottsdale's been a hub for that for a long time. But that's, you know, one of, you know, 30, 40 different reasons that tend to come up regularly for reasons why people are traveling in groups together.
Yeah, no, I think some of those I wouldn't have thought of the executive group because they get together to bond and, you know, have meetings and brainstorm and all that. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. Well, am I missing anything before we kind of sign off here?
Not that I can think of. You know, we talked about the criteria. You know, I think we talked a little bit about the seasonality. You know, we didn't
really talk about that, about the difference in the different seasons. Because when I was not interviewing, but I was asking what to talk about, and I was saying, well, how much would you make in a month or per night? And he's like, well, it depends on the month that you're talking about, right?
Yeah,
and
totally.
What events are going on.
And I get that a lot. It's like, you know, if I buy this house or, hey, we're looking at this house, like, what is it going to rent for per night? And it's like, well, there's 160 price variations over a 365-day calendar year. So it's a really tough question to answer. So when I talk about numbers with people, I, at the very beginning, say, hey, look, everything we're going to discuss financially related is going to be annualized. Let's annualize our expenses. We're going to annualize our gross rents, our NOI, et cetera. And so, you know, I would say generally March, for example, which is our top booking month of the year, is going to be 5 times the revenue that you might generate in, say, August. Okay. And so
when monthly, it's hell on earth.
Yeah. When it's, totally. Like, I don't even want to be here. I don't know.
Yeah. Nobody else wants to be here.
Right. But, so, you know, annualized. Yeah. I mean, really the space I play in is, you know, about 250,000 to about 450,000 a year in top line rental revenue on about a $2 to $3 million house. That's kind of that.
And that's after paying the mortgage. That's after paying you. That's after doing the amenities.
Top line. No. So top line is just going to be gross.
Okay.
So
just gross.
That is inclusive of the cleaning fees that the guest pays, the rental rate.
Okay.
That's top line.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll touch on expenses real quickly. So there's the 3 big line item expenses are management fee is number 1, cleaning fees throughout the year is number 2, and utilities. Those are going to be your kind of top 3 expenses. And then you have supplies like your shampoos, your dish soaps, your paper towels, toilet paper, et cetera. Supplies, incidentals, you know, handyman, things like that. That's, you know, a few $1,000s. Yeah. But generally, I mean, we try to run pretty lean, right? So on let's just say using a round number, $100,000 in gross, the net, which is when we talk about cap rates and net operating income, we're excluding debt service, so mortgage from that. So your expenses, your strictly your operating expenses on say $100,000 in top line rental revenue is probably going to be about $35,000 to $40,000. So you're running about, most managers will tell you they're going to run about 35 to 40% in expenses relative to your top line rental revenue. But
you get to take home 60%.
Yeah. And if you have low debt service or, you know, then that's how we get to our higher cap rates that we're shooting for. Okay.
All right. Well, I think this sounds awesome. And I'm really glad that you found this niche. And you guys, Ross is, I mean, he's been an awesome podcast guest, but his presentation to us about all of that goes into the numbers of figuring all of this out as to whether your property is going to be profitable or not, and his opinions and experience in the market are just amazing. So I really appreciate you coming on.
Thank you so much for having me.
And I also have to tout you too, because at our brokerage, he's like one of the top 10 real estate agents. I mean, he is like really killing it. So if you are interested in getting an Airbnb out here, I do recommend giving him a call because he really knows his stuff. So thank you.
Totally.
Again.
And my website's luxurycashflow.com. And there's a, just a little inquiry page, and happy to answer any questions.
And you can see the properties that he has on there.
Yep. You can see the properties I have on there. You can see more about the management aspect of it. Yeah. Tons of good content on there. Still getting the YouTube and the TikToks and the IGs kind of going, but there is some informative stuff on there as well.
It takes some serious time. Believe me. I know where you're at with that. And I'll have all Ross's information in the show notes. And whenever I post anything, I'll tag you and all of that. And then if you do have any questions, feel free to give me or Ross a call or whatever, and we can point you in the right direction. Okay. Thank you. Yeah. Thank you for being on. And you guys, thank you so much for listening, and be sure to share it with your friends, or let me know if you have any other topics that are of interest. I appreciate you.
Thanks, Michelle.